And now for our feature presentation.
You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
He's going to go into the end zone.
Puts it up. Yes! There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
American football. It's finally the one. American football has won the Triple Crown.
And Bonds hits right high. It's a dig. It is out of here. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Unbelievable. A home run for Gibson. And the Dodgers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Here are your hosts, Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online. And today on the road, Stokes Volkswagen is where we will be for the next couple of hours, and we hope you'll stop in and join us just up off of Ashley Phosphate Road in North Charleston. Check them out at stokesvw.com. The JB and Goldwater Show, of course, is driven by Stokes Volkswagen, and we're going to tell you what's going on here in just a moment, why are we here, and why you should be here as well. You can find us on the Podbean app. That's free. You can also watch us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. That's all free. jbandgoldwatershow.com as well. Find Darren at Darren Goldwater. Find me at Sports Radio JB, and collectively across all social media platforms, it is at JB and Goldwater. Good afternoon, my friend.
What's going on, man? I'm glad that we're out here. It's part of a blood drive right now, and I was just talking with the folks out there. There's been such a good response for the blood that they have extended the blood drive all the way out to 2 o'clock today, and they have an urgent need for O negative, but they also have an urgent need for really just everything right now. So so come on out, give blood. They're going to be here. It was originally scheduled till 11:30.
Okay.
But because of the interest already, that they're going to be here till 2. There's a food truck that's out here at the moment. We've got stuff to give away. We've got a loaded guest show. You got cars you can buy while you buy your food.
Absolutely.
You may as well come on out and check us out.
Absolutely. Yep. Darren and I here until 2 o'clock. So if we've never met you before, we'd be happy to do that. And, of course, the folks at Stokes Volkswagen certainly want to help you find your next ride if that's something you're interested in, if you're just here to give blood, whatever it may be. But Stokes Volkswagen is the place to be, that's for sure. 0% APR for 60 months on a 2020 Atlas Cross Sport. They're beautiful cars. I looked in one not too long ago, and it made me a little bit jealous of what the wife and I are riding around in right now. That might be the next purchase in the Bradford household. 0% APR financing for 60 months at Stokes Volkswagen, and there are more deals that we'll sprinkle in throughout the afternoon as well. StokesVW.com if you'd like to see what that ride looks like as well. It'll fit your family. We'll talk more about this car tomorrow in our weekly On the Road Again segment as well. 843-321-8893 is our phone number. It's also our text line, and you can do that. If you can't pick up the phone, give us a shout. We would certainly appreciate that and be a part of our program in any way, shape, or form. Also, coming up today at 12:10, that's in about 5 minutes, Tim Doyle with CBS Sports. He's going to join us. Major announcements yesterday in hoops. College basketball is back. We'll tell you how. What it's going to look like, maybe. The word bubble being thrown around a lot, certainly. So Tim's going to join us here. He is very well informed. And right in the middle of all that, we'll also touch on the NBA playoffs with Tim and a whole lot more. At 12:30, Corey McCartney joins us live from Atlanta, Georgia. And the Braves, Cole Hamels back through look pretty good. They have signed Pablo Sandoval. They have a bullpen that's making ends meet, and they're making a playoff run. So we'll talk to Corey about that. He also has a column out at fansided.com about Oklahoma fatigue when it comes to the Heisman Trophy. So we'll talk to him about that and much, much more. At 1 p.m., Gamecock fans will know this voice if you listen to sports radio frequently in Columbia. And if you've ever been to a South Carolina football game, this name will forever be a legend connected with something that happened just under a week from 20 years ago. Quarterback Eric Kimry will join us in about an hour from Columbia, and we'll talk to him about the 2020 South Carolina football team, get his take on the quarterback battle, talk to him about some of his guys who are currently playing with the Gamecocks and maybe some that might be playing with the Gamecocks soon, and much, much more. So excited to have the Hammond head football coach and former quarterback of Carolina football with us. And then at 1:30, Scott Glaze will join us as well, and he will get down and deep into the U.S. Open, and that's where we'll start this thing. And go ahead and give you an update here, Darren. Patrick Reed, Justin Thomas, they are tied right now for the lead at 4 under par. Reed through 15. He's on 16. JT's on 15. Both have had pretty good days at Winged Foot. It is playing difficult, even though those scores are at 4 under par. There's not many under par. 8. That's it. Davis Thompson and Harris English, they share a tie for third right now. At 3 under, Rory McIlroy is also tied for third. He is on the 14th. Jason Kokrak and Brendan Todd, they are at 2 under par. And Sandy Scott at 1 under. That's it. There's a few at even, and one of them was Tiger Woods. But Tiger, as a matter of fact, Tiger was 1 under after birdieing 3 straight holes. Since then, it's been a little bit more difficult. Back-to-back bogeys on 13 and 14, trying to recoup now on 15. But he's only 5 shots off the lead, and he's tied with a bunch at 1 over par, Darren. And I mentioned to you before we came on the air here, if Tiger's within 4 shots or so at the end of the day, I think he should feel really good because Winged Foot is difficult. It's going to play more difficult in the afternoon. Scott will talk about that in a little while. A lot of the big names are going off, including Dustin Johnson today, who has been lights out over the last 5 weeks. But if Tiger can be in the mix, he will be in the mix. Now, he will tee off in the afternoon tomorrow, and that is true. But tomorrow's tomorrow. Where he is at the end of today is what will really matter at this point in time.
Yeah, Rory McIlroy said it yesterday in his press conference that typically if he's going to have a good weekend in a major, it's important for him to get off to a good start on Thursday, and it looked as though he was doing that before I came out here. A couple things that jump out at you about Winged Foot. Number one, the greens are about as fast as, say, this table right here on a slope if you're just to roll a ball. Those things are flying downhill right now. Number two, the rough is almost a one-stroke penalty. If you're in the rough, there are some brutal trap lies as well. If someone's 4 under right now, that's a heck of a day. It's going to get harder and harder as the thing goes through the weekend. I'd love to say Tiger's going to be around there in the end. I'm a Tiger fan. I want him to be there in the end.
Sure.
So does Scott Glaze. I mean, we're all Tiger Woods fanboys here, but I don't have any reason to believe that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's hard to. It's hard to until he proves it. The last few weeks with Tiger have not been great.
Yep.
With what he has dealt with at Winged Foot, you put those two together, and certainly it's going to be a challenge. But right now, he's in it. He's just 5 shots off. Coming down the stretch here, we'll see what he can do to finish the day. Again, he's on 15. They're all par 4s from here in. It's not going to be easy. But he did have a stretch, 9, 10, and 11, where he birdie, and he lipped out for bird at 12, which was a par 5, so had a shot for 4 consecutive. And it's been a streaky day for Tiger, a pair of bogeys at 4 and 5, a bird at 6, and then a bogey at 8 before he went on that 3 birdie stretch there, and now back-to-back bogeys. So Tiger's got to try to get it going, but getting it going early has been Patrick Reed and Justin Thomas, and we're certainly going to keep our eyes on that throughout the afternoon. Also going to get into the Pac-12, maybe the Mountain West as well today. The Pac-12 appears to be attempting to clear the way to return to football. It is amazing how this is happening. The Mountain West also trying to clear the way to return to football. We'll see. We do have notes on that that we'll get out to you coming up here in just a little bit. We'll talk to Corey McCartney about it as well at 12:30, and then Eric Kimry joining us at 1, Scott Glaze at 1:30. But here in just a moment, it is Tim Doyle with CBS Sports, and we're going to catch up with him about college hoops because it appears that college basketball is set to go on Thanksgiving Eve here in 2020. And what will that look like? Will it be a bubble? It appears that way. Could that bubble be very close to Charleston, where we are? Certainly appears that way as well, Darren. We are beginning to get more and more information about what the college basketball season may kind of look like. So here in just a minute, Tim will join us, and we'll kind of dabble in that for a few minutes with him as well. Real quick update here in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa is now officially off the injured list. How long before he starts? Probably not this weekend, but I don't give it much longer.
Yep.
They drafted him for a reason, wanted to make sure he was healthy and ready to go, and it looks like he is ready to go. Even though he was listed last week on the roster, he was still listed on the injury list as well. No more. But Tim Doyle's not on the injured list.
No, Tim Doyle's never on the injured list. Neither is his hair.
No, that's what I understand. He's teed up, and he's ready to go. Joining us here at 12:10 on a Thursday afternoon live from Stokes Volkswagen. Tim, how are you, my friend?
Jamie, Darren, what's up, boys?
Hey, man. Aren't we all living the dream?
I had kind of a routine where I was like a good parent, good father until 5 p.m. Central Time, and then I just started drinking Bloody Marys or beer. But that actually, that doesn't lead to good stuff, I've realized. Like my gout started to flare up, and I kind of had to reel it in a little bit. But I think we've all kind of had crossroads during this pandemic, either personally or professionally. But doesn't this seem like, guys, that there is a little light flickering at the end of the tunnel? Big Ten football is going to be back, which I know Darren and myself are pumped at, being Big Ten alums. We got college basketball around the corner. My marriage, which was hanging on by a thread, is now hanging on by 3 threads.
Yes.
That's even improving. So let's just say things are going in the right direction.
I'm glad things are going well on the home front.
Important.
That's obviously very important here. So let me ask you this, Tim. Tim and I go back, I don't know, a few years now. We've worked a couple of games together, and the passion that Tim displays for the game of basketball is pretty much unmatched by any other analyst that's out there. So you get the news, yesterday, that it's finally official, right? We're going to start the day before Thanksgiving. What are your initial impressions about the college basketball season starting 15 days after it should have?
My initial impression is I have 2 nieces that went to college this year as freshmen, and it's not even September 20th, and they both got COVID. So they had to put them both up, either quarantine in their room, one niece is, and the other one is quarantined in like a bad motel somewhere outside of Lexington. She goes to Kentucky. My other niece goes to West Virginia. And my point that I bring that up is student athletes are going to come down with COVID.
Sure.
I think there needs to be proper protocol that's put in place. I'll be totally transparent. I had COVID. My wife had COVID. My whole family, I have a handicapped 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. Everyone had COVID. All right. They weren't as bad as me. I was really tired 5 or 6 days. Came through 10 days later, fine. My brother, full transparency, was given last rites in New York in March when it was really bad. He had COVID. Now, this is before maybe medical knew too much about it. So I don't want to sound callous when I kind of make my point here, because we've all been through some sort of, trials and tribulations. And I know different regions have different views on this. And unfortunately, I think this has gotten really political at this time.
Sure.
So I'm just excited that the NFL, first spearheaded by Dana White and the UFC, and then Adam Silver with the bubble, and now all of a sudden everyone's going, all right, we could actually move forward with this. I know that people have lost their lives, and it's been an awful, awful thing, but I just there needs to be some – I love the fact that people were pioneers trying to move forward with this, and now everyone else is kind of joining along. So college basketball around the corner – man, I think you can hear how excited I am.
On Twitter at Tim Doyle 00 with CBS Sports 12:15 here on a Thursday afternoon on the JB and Goldwater Show. Tim, yesterday with the D1 Council saying, okay, you're set to go Thanksgiving Eve, that it would be November the 25th to be an exact date. I think one of the first things I thought about was, well, now wait a second here, because I know South Carolina has done this, and Notre Dame, some notables that I'm just mentioning quickly. But there's a bunch of schools out there that have done this, that basically when students leave for Thanksgiving break, they won't be returning. They will move exclusively online if they had not done so prior to. And then I looked up some statistics, and it looked like about 75% of all Division I schools will either finish the fall semester completely or release that student body, have released that student body from in-person instruction. So saying that, correlating that with this date, do you anticipate multiple bubbles across the country, and how many games do you think these schools are going to try to squeeze in maybe a 5 or 6 week period before students might be returning to class?
Yeah, I saw that the max number of games was going to be 27, and I think that this is going to be a real division between the haves and the have-nots, because the testing is going to be wildly expensive. I've seen reports that are going to be upwards of $5,000 a week for teams to constantly and players to constantly get tested. I really want to see how the Power 5 conference coaches, as well as, you want to throw the American in there and whatever, the East. I know basketball is a little different than football as far as their Power 5, but you know what those coaches make? Real ungodly amount of money. And during this time, one word that I keep using over and over again is flexible. Flexible with your family being at home, flexible with the kids running in the background on your Zoom meeting. And I want to see these coaches be flexible with their salary for 1 year, so that the betterment of the student athlete, maybe not just on the basketball team, maybe on the women's basketball team, maybe on other sports that have been cut across college athletics. When you got coaches making $2, $4, $6 million a year, you want to know something? A lot of businesses shut down. A lot of people took haircuts. So I think it would be great for college coaches to set an example to their student athletes that, you want to know something? Things have been pretty tough. I'm going to take a step back here monetarily. Might just be for a year. Who knows where this is going? But what kind of example is that set, right? Don't these guys preach about family? Oh, you're part of a family here. Well, once in a while, people in the family lose their job, and other guys have to step up. I'm really curious to see, JB and Darren, what coaches come to the forefront here, because there's a lot of guys that make a lot of money, and do they just sit in the background? And one thing I love is, as an ex-player, they're going to limit practice times. Yes! 3-hour practices. While I was going to Northwestern, there are two things that are important in college. Everyone knows it. Getting good grades and drinking beer. Okay, and that means we're going to drink more beer? Yes, that's what needs to happen. Let's have the full college experience, because when you go to college, and I was there for 5 years, I'm not a doctor, but they did own you as far as when they wanted you in the gym. And now I think this opens up a little bit more of a college experience, even though you can't go 6 feet within anybody. But, I always felt like there was way too many hours of practice and not enough time for social and school.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, look, I as a fellow college athlete myself, I think I could agree with you on that one. There's a lot of practice time, and sometimes you wonder. Think about what these football players are going through right now. I mean, they've been practicing forever in the SEC. They can't wait to hit somebody that didn't have the same helmet on. And that'll be starting next weekend. What are you hearing from the bubble side of things? What are these bubbles going to look like? How big will they be? Yesterday, it was mentioned that Rock Hill, South Carolina, could be a big bubble, maybe for quite some time. Maybe 20-plus teams playing up right around Winthrop University.
I'm wildly excited about this, and I really hope. And Darren and I cover games where, we see Middle Tennessee go out there and win 26 games, and then not get into the tournament. And it's like, if we're going to have bubbles, let's make it fair. Let's open it up a little bit. I said this about the NBA. I said, whoever wins the championship this year, this will be the hardest championship ever to win, because you're not going to have that home court advantage, and it's going to be between the ears. Meaning, if you're going to have a bubble, invite some little guys there. Going to a Power 5 school, we were always scared to book those little guys and stuff. Well, that's why I think that this could be a breaking point as far as the have and the have-nots. Or let's make this real fun. Let's give schools like Winthrop an opportunity to play. We've had so many great teams throughout the year. Let's give those little guys a chance to kind of compete against the big boys. Or will it be like, nah, we get the table at the club and you guys got to kind of stand at the bar, or just wait online to even get into the club? So I'm excited about the bubbles. I'm also a little leery of them, of it's going to be all big boys in the bubble, and they kind of beat up on themselves and have the great strength of schedule and say, oh, we have these resume wins. Where the little schools, well, they don't have the same opportunities. And I feel like with the tournament expanding, let's give some more mid-major size schools, smaller schools, an opportunity to compete. Because I think basketball now is more watered down and everyone's more on the even playing field. But when the high majors don't give the little guys a chance, it's really hard to prove that.
What are you hearing about those bubbles? I mean, are you hearing that some of these little guys are going to get in, or is the trend right now, hey, let's make these massive must-see TV events and have all the blue bloods, as many as we can?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, I think that it's going to be like, here's your prom queens, and here's like kind of like everybody else down here. Like, sorry, like here's like Screech and like the nerds from Saved by the Bell. You know, I always thought Screech was trying to outkick his coverage. You know, like Lisa Turtle at that time was just, I mean, top of the line. And now Screech, like, you got to know your lane. That's a whole nother story for another day. And I can go toe-to-toe with anybody at Saved by the Bell knowledge. But, yeah, I got a feeling, Darren, that it's going to be all the big boys and then kind of everybody else in another bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Tim, Darren, and I ran off the list of ESPN-hosted tournaments that had moved to Orlando. We generally have one of those here in Charleston, the Charleston Classic, that is held at the College of Charleston's home court, TD Arena. You know, so, you know, and they're up in Myrtle Beach, the Myrtle Beach Invitational, and there's a few others that do include some of those teams. But those were already pre-selected tournaments, so that is different from what would consist of a, quote, bubble, correct?
Correct. So here's the deal. Who's going to be flexible with their scheduling? Okay. Who's going to invite this? Like, who's going to welcome everybody pulling in the same direction? Is it going to be all the Power Fives and Big East and American all pulling in the same direction? Is the NCAA going to be pulling in the same direction? You know, who sells tickets? Who makes money? You know, that's where you got to kind of cipher through like all that. Sure, ESPN. I mean, they're gonna want teams that draw. So it really, the business side of this is kind of the thing I always chuckle about, because what are we doing here? Are we having amateurs or are we running a business? You know, I think that's a huge gray area in college sports. So, like I said, I'm excited about college hoops. Hopefully I'll be announcing a few games. I'm going to be calling the Western Conference Finals for Turner Sports, and I'm going to be doing that from my basement. Wow. And I may not wear pants. So, like, now I got to get back on an airplane and travel to games. I don't know. I'm getting kind of spoiled here, boys.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Congratulations on doing
that. I mean, fantastic.
I know it was a big deal that you were getting some NBA games, and now you're doing the Western Conference Finals. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I just think that the broadcasting side, and you guys know this because you guys are trying something new, you guys are being innovative. Like, there's so many different avenues now in the traditional broadcasting. I mean, Darren knows this. When I do a game with someone, I tell them before the game, and you're a play-by-play guy, I say, whatever goes on in the game's fine. Just in the open. Do not say, cold outside, but the action inside is going to be red hot on the floor. Because every play-by-play guy, and I'm in the Midwest, so normally it's cold during basketball season, when they do that, I actually have to keep my hands to myself because it is the biggest mailed-in open of all time. Darren, have you ever done that?
No. Well, not recently. Not. It definitely did happen, yes. But it hasn't been since I started doing games, you know, nationally,
20
I guess.
years ago?
I haven't done it since
when you were
then.
a young buck?
But I definitely did it as a young buck. Absolutely.
It's so funny because they'll give you like a shot of like the guys walking in and off the bus and like, frigid day here in Madison, Wisconsin. But the action on the court is going to be steaming hot. And it's like, can't we get anything better than that, guys?
I know you if you're calling the games, you can't pick a winner, but explain the matchup here between Denver and LA in your mind.
No, I can 100% pick a winner.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing that drives me crazy about sports. The other night, what was it? Was kicking someone's butt, Texans, right? The game was over, right? The Chiefs were running away with it. Meanwhile, it was the most exciting 4 minutes ever because the total was on the line. And the fact that somebody took the field goal late, that's right, the Chiefs did. And if you had a second half bet, if you had a total, and that's where, hats off to Turner, that's all I'm going to be doing for Turner is talking about the spread, talking about the games. Let's be honest, now state to states are starting to open up gambling and it's legal at a federal level. I hate to tell you, that's why people watch the games, because the spread. So,
Yep.
here's what I like. I like Denver in the series. I like Denver in the first game. I sprinkle a little money line on them against the Clippers because Doc Rivers can't win a Game 7. That team was playing with no confidence, no swag. And I still believe LeBron and Anthony Davis do not have enough help around them, and they're really counting on Rajon Rondo. And I thought he was the X factor in the Rockets series. So they caught Portland after being exhausted, fighting through the bubble to get in the playoffs. Then they play the Rockets, and Rondo plays out of his mind. So if Rondo keeps that up, I do think the Lakers are going to win. But, you're betting on the supporting cast of the Lakers, and I frankly think that Denver, top to bottom, has more talent. In the matchup between Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic, well, whoever wins that matchup, I think is going to end up winning the series.
What's the most intriguing thing about the NBA, the conference finals right now from a wagering standpoint? What's the correct way to say it? I mean, not betting, wagering, action, maybe?
Yeah, I just think here's the deal, right? LeBron, the Lakers, when you have a big brand name like that, whether it's Duke or the Yankees or the Dodgers, right, they're always going to be overbet. So right now, if you want to bet the Lakers, you have to lay $1.70, $1.70 to win 100, or $17 to win 10, whatever your preference is. So I think there's some juicy value, and I love the Celtics coming out of the East before the playoffs started. They were 7-1 underdogs to come out of the Eastern Conference because I looked at their roster and I went, all right, you got 3 guys that average 20 points a game, and Gordon Hayward, and Marcus Smart. Man, you got 5 different offensive options. So Hayward's been banged up. His wife just had a baby. He'll be coming back some point during this series, but Miami's just got a bunch of dogs. And Jimmy Butler, I mean, shame on the 76ers. They chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
Sure.
They're not even in the same conversation. I just think Miami's really tough. I think Boston's more talented. I expected that to be a great series, and Game 1 lived up to the hype.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all but out of time here, but we want to leave you the floor for any parting shots.
Here's what I have to say. Darren Goldwater and I have become friends for 5 or 6 years, and he made the nicest video of my son who recently had open heart surgery, and he tied it into one shining moment, which I don't know if I told Darren this. I watched Pearl Washington. Somebody did like a mix-up of him. He was a great guard for Syracuse back in the 80s, and he is from my neighborhood in New York City, and he recently passed. And I was sitting there, and I was crying watching like old Syracuse highlights. I was like, what is wrong with me? Because that song, for me, because I was a college basketball player, moves the meter so much. So he actually tied the song into my son and the different challenges he's had and how he's come along. And here's the funniest part. I have not told him this. I've showed it to all my friends, and like everybody gets like teary-eyed, kind of misty-eyed. It's great to watch his progress, and I know that Darren's wife got really teary-eyed and stuff.
That's how I knew it was good.
I showed it to my wife. She goes, wow, it's a cool video. No tears.
That's it.
I was crying watching her watch it. I was like, God, I'm such a wimp.
The purpose was really to make it for her, and she gave the least reaction.
Yeah, it's like me, you, all of us, all of the athletes I know, we're all crying because maybe that song means a lot to us. My wife's like, you made this for me? It seems like you made it more for you. And like now that I think about it, I think she's right.
Maybe.
She had exhausted her emotions by that time.
Yeah.
That was just another day.
True. That's what she said. She was really appreciative of it. I was just expecting like a signature like Daniel LaRusso and his girlfriend after he beat Cobra Kai. Like I was expecting like an embrace or something. She just like handed me the phone. She's like, yeah, this is nice. I was like, that's it?
Well, Matt, look, the important thing is that Chicago Joe's doing well. You can follow Chicago Joe on Twitter. He gives betting advice too, and he's pretty good. So you could follow him and Tim and the main thing is that Chicago Joe's doing well, and I'm pumped for you.
I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Anytime you guys want to have me on, I wish you the best of luck. I'm happy to help.
We will do that. We will actually do that. We'll get you courtside here soon. I'm kidding. No,
Sounds good, boys.
We'll wait till you're done. Tim, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you. Enjoy the Western Conference Finals. Can't wait to watch. We really appreciate all your input.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Later,
there you
man.
go. Tim Doyle, CBS Sports Line as well on Twitter at Tim Doyle 00. Really good stuff from him. If you're listening, if you'd like to play golf or head to Patriots Point, or you'd like $20, come by Stokes Volkswagen. That's where we are until 2 o'clock today, and we got a little football in front of us. You just reach your hand in there, and you can draw And whatever you draw is what you win, either a family 4-pack of tickets to Patriots Point or a free round of golf worth, about $90 to Stono Ferry. Right here, we've got 4 free rounds of golf to give away. We've got 2 family 4-packs of tickets. They'll give you $20 to come by the blood drive here at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. $20. All you do is just give blood. People need it. And they're right here waiting on you to drive right in and do so. So come see us here live on the road, Stokes Volkswagen. Check them out at stokesvw.com. We'll give you more of their deals that are on the lot. If you're looking to buy a car right now, now's a good time. Big bow right there to my left on one that I've been eyeing.
That's a nice one, isn't it?
It's the crossboard.
That is the crossboard. By the way, the crossboard has the extra third row, $399 a month, 72 months, 0% financing right now.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Don't let my wife know where I am today. 12:30 on a Thursday afternoon, the JB and Goldwater Show is time for a timeout, but when we return, Corey McCartney live in Atlanta, Georgia. Lots of movement with the Braves and more. We'll get into the Pac-12 situation with him and the Big Ten. So hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show driven by Stokes Volkswagen from Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks, not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
Now, hear this.
Who the hell is that?
The JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, 12:33. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, online, and on the road. Stokes Volkswagen, live off of Ashley Phosphate Road, stokesvw.com. The 2020 Atlas Cross Sport has a hell of a deal strapped on it right now, so you might want to come check it out. And the blood drive ongoing here as well, $20 to give blood, plus you just reach your hand in our little football on this table, and you can pull out a family 4-pack of tickets to go to Patriots Point on us, or pull out a free round of golf to one of the finest golf courses we've got around here. That's Stono Ferry. Scott Glaze is going to join us from Stono Ferry, as a matter of fact, at 1:30 to discuss the U.S. Open. At 1:05 today, Eric Kimry, former quarterback at Carolina, he will hop on as well. But now it's Corey's time. Corey McCartney joining us from hot Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully not anymore. Corey, I know you got a bunch of rain from, I guess it would have been Tropical Depression Sally moving through. Are you floating somewhere, or are you okay?
I got a kayak, and we're good to go.
There you go. Oh, that's good. How much rain have y'all gotten in Atlanta?
I mean, quite a bit. It's definitely, it's that time of weather, a time where you got to decide how much you really want to grill something. It's
yes.
like, do you want to stand out there with the umbrella? Is it worth the soaking to grill something? That's how much rain we have.
We know how that feels,
dude. We
here.
got pounded this morning, and I think that was some of the remnants of Sally.
Oh yeah, this always. We're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get hit tonight. The upstate of South Carolina is getting worn out right now, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is, Corey. All right, we'll start with baseball with you. Do want to get to some football though, but it's been a busy week for the Braves transaction wise. All of a sudden, the starting pitching staff looks a little bit better. Cole Hamels is back in there, so we're going to have you kind of give us your thoughts on his first start. But they also have signed Pablo Sandoval, who's just hanging around. He's been around a while. It looks like he'll be around at least a little while longer. And I don't know if what the plan is with him, so I'll let you tell us about that as well. But we'll start there. Braves this week with a couple moves.
Yeah, I mean, the Pablo Sandoval thing's kind of weird. I mean, the guy was having a horrible season, 54 weighted run per plus, so 46% below league average hitter. I mean, a 220 average. Basically, you bring him in as an insurance policy because you had to be on a 40-man roster on the 15th in order to be postseason eligible. So the only way that Pablo Sandoval is going to be suiting up for the Braves in the postseason is if he's an injury replacement and they have to file a petition with the commissioner's office to even get him suited up. So basically, this is a break, in an emergency break glass kind of situation there with him. So I wouldn't hold your breath seeing Pablo Sandoval. It may happen, and he's hit well against lefties this year, which Austin Riley hasn't. So maybe he can provide something there. But I'm not expecting too much. And then you mentioned Cole Hamels coming back. It wasn't spectacular. I mean, the guy hadn't pitched, in an actual game in nearly a calendar year. 36 years old, but he got, retired 10 of the 14 batters he faced in 3 1/3 inning. The fastball wasn't great. I mean, the changeup he got about a 30% whiff rate on. But it's more of the optics of it, right? I mean, you've got Cole Hamels out there. You didn't know if you were even going to see him after the shoulder and the tricep issues with him. But, you've got him. Obviously, Freed's supposed to be back tomorrow against the Mets. Now you've got Kyle Wright, who looks a little bit better. So you at least have an actual plan, or it no longer feels like you're just throwing darts at a dartboard trying to figure out what guys you're going to throw into this rotation. It feels a little bit more solidified. And obviously with 10 games to go, I mean, this is what it's all about, is trying to get them ramped up, and we'll see how much they can get Hamels' innings built up over probably 2 more starts before we get to the postseason.
As hot as this Braves team is offensively and the passion they're playing with, aren't they starting to remind you a little bit of that run the Nationals put together at the end of last year?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the whole little fun vibe with them and whatnot. The only thing I wonder, though, and you talk about the Nationals, is now that we've seen this postseason schedule, and now you know that you can't go with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin getting 76% of a team starts in a championship run.
Yeah,
that's out the window now. So now it's going to be more about depth, and certainly, I mean, you think Max Fried's going to look great at each time out. Ian Anderson has had 1 bad outing and 3 really good ones. But after that, I mean, Kyle Wright's shown it in flashes. You don't really know on Cole Hamels. And, of course, Mike Fultonevich is kind of sitting there wondering if he's going to be a factor. But I don't know how much this postseason schedule from a pitching standpoint is really going to be helping the Braves out, considering the problems with the depth in this rotation.
Well, one of the things that we haven't talked about much, Corey, is what the bullpen has actually managed to do this year. Last year – they were heavily scrutinized and criticized, maybe even over the last couple of years, as they probably should have been. But for the most part this year, the Braves bullpen has been pretty good, and that's one of the reasons that they are 2.5 games up and in the lead in the National League East.
Yeah, without question. I mean, you're talking about a top 5 bullpen, and it's not only the guys that you obviously saw the Braves go out and get last year before the trade deadline. I mean, Shane Green was an all-star. I know it was a rough start for him in Atlanta. He came in and won in that closer role. They had this, fancy introduction video for him, with young Yeezy playing in the background with, and all this, and it just kind of blew up in his face. But, I mean, Tyler Matzik is a guy who, hasn't pitched in a major league game in almost 4 years, and he's been their second most reliable reliever and most valuable in terms of WAR. Then you got A.J. Minter, who's been 3rd on the team in that department. So as much as Mark Melancon, Shane Green, and Chris Martin were those guys that were made such a big deal about, they're getting it from some unexpected sources, and it's just up and down. I mean, obviously, you've had your miscues and you've had your missteps in the handling of this bullpen. But these guys have been very, very effective. And the only thing you were worried about is when you have so many starts, which your starting pitcher can't get through that fourth inning. How much is that going to impact this group? They have the most innings pitched of any team, bullpen-wise, that's in position to make the postseason. And you've got 29 games in which your starters failed to go past the fourth. So that's not a great equation. And certainly when you think about loading guys up, the one thing you could say is this isn't a 162-game season. Yeah. It's a shortened one, a compacted one, so you hope that's not going to wear too much on guys.
Yeah. On Twitter at Corey J. McCartney joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. What's wrong with Ronald Acuna Jr.? It's been a little bit of a struggle. 2 for his last 24. That's in his last 7 games played. Hasn't had a hit since Saturday, and of his last 19 at-bats, 12 of them have been strikeouts. I guess if there's a time to slump, do it now. Get hot in the postseason. But it's been pretty bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, and this has been the best offense in baseball in September, thanks to guys like Freddie Freeman and Adam Duvall and Marcell Ozuna. So they've been able to weather him having some problems at the plate. But, the defense is going to be really good. If he gets on base, he can make something happen. So, I think you just take the ebbs and the flows of a young guy like this. We've seen him throughout these past 2 seasons. As great as he's been, he's had those windows where he's not performed or things have been shaky for him. It's just, we're obviously just seeing it at the wrong time now with 10 games to go until we get to the postseason.
But I'm sorry, but it's been quite the opposite for Freddie Freeman, who's hitting about 500 in the last week. He's got 11 bombs on the year, 46 ribbies, and that average is up to 352. Where does he stand right now in the MVP race?
So I wrote about this today on Talking Chop, and it's interesting because we've thought, I think for the most part all season, as we've seen the Padres kind of come out of nowhere to be this great story as they look to end this long postseason drought, that Fernando Tatis Jr. was going to be really, really tough to beat in this MVP race. Now, all of a sudden, in terms of Fangraphs tour, you've got Freddie and Tatis are tied for the National League lead. It's been miraculous for him. Right now he's very much in the running for the Sabermetrics Triple Crown. It's lead the league in average, OBP, and slugging. We've only seen that happen, twice since 2009. Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols. So no Braves done it crazy since Rogers Hornsby in 1928. Whoa. The reason I bring that up is when you go back to 1982, 11 guys had pulled that off, and only 2 of them, Jason Giambi in 2001 and Mark McGwire in 98, didn't win the MVP. So, when you consider what we've seen from this rotation and how, the Padres are still there, but Tatis is slipping. I mean, he's hitting 184 in September. Mookie Betts, and when you look at the latest odds, is right there in the National League MVP race. But we know that rotation for the Dodgers is so good. They're so stacked. I think Freddie's case is being made every night when he goes out there and they have to make up for what they're not getting pitching-wise. I really think when you go back to Andrew Jones in 2005 when he finished second to Pujols, this is the best candidate, the most logical and threatening candidate they've had for the MVP in 15 years.
Wow. You're going right up Jamie's alley right there with an Andrew Jones reference.
Yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Just teeing it up for him. Let's go west here just for a little bit. Dodgers are the first team to officially clinch. I think it caught everyone by surprise a little bit, I think, just because of how short this season has been. The way the Dodgers are playing, getting pushed a little bit right now, does that help them into the postseason, the fact that they couldn't just run away with this thing?
I mean, I was watching them against the Padres yesterday, and they were just, it's just a completely different class, right? I mean, as much as we talked about the Padres, going out and trying to soup up for this thing. I mean, the Dodgers are just a completely different animal, right now. And, I mentioned, where Mookie Betts is at in terms of the MVP race. His team right now has held the opposition to a 244 weighted on base average. That's the best in baseball in the month of September. So you wanted to push the Dodgers. This is what you get when you push the Dodgers. This team is primed and they're ready to roll. So obviously the best odds of anybody to win the World Series right now. That didn't work out too well for them last year, as we all well know. But they're certainly hot at the right time.
Yeah, yesterday, Darren and I went over what the playoffs, or 2 days ago, went over what the playoffs would look like if the season ended at that point in time on Tuesday. I don't think much has changed. But who right now is on the outside looking in that can make a run to get into this thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting, right? I mean, when you start thinking about those teams that are right there, I mean, certainly you got the Dodgers have already clinched. The White Sox are already there. The Reds. I mean, we've talked about the Reds so much. They're sitting there right on the cusp of things. If the season were to end right now, that's who you're talking about. The Braves facing in the postseason. But look, when you start thinking about the National League, I mean, it's just. Look, are we going to get the Phillies in? Are we going to get the Marlins in? Because the Marlins got a series coming up against the Braves, so you're going to see an opportunity there for them to try to climb up a little bit more. The Giants, the Reds. I mean, the Cardinals to me are so interesting. They're tied with the Reds for that final spot, but they missed 19 games. They had to load up on all these doubleheaders. So I think if they get in, that's going to be really fascinating. But I wrote about this today too. I think this is setting up for a situation the Braves don't want if they have to face a Reds team that has 4 starters right now. That are all .8 WAR or higher. I mean, they're the only team in the National League like that. So,
wow.
Not setting up for a great matchup for the Braves in the first round.
How amazing is this story of the the Miami Marlins?
Same thing.
I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I just keep going back to when, the season started and it wasn't looking good. And there were some national columnists out there, one in particular that called them a glorified independent league team, canceled the season, this, that, and the other. Right now, if the season ended today, they would be the 5th seed in the National League, Darren. Or Darren, what's your name?
Corey,
sorry.
Corey, Darren. People confuse us all the time.
Well, I tell you what I find most fascinating about them is the fact that how they're getting this done, right? I mean, you're talking about, a team that's not hitting well at all. I mean, this is a bottom 5 offense right now, but they've been so good with the pitching. And, we knew that they had loaded up on so many young pitchers to be able to make this run. I mean, Pablo Lopez has been great. Sixto Sanchez, who they got in the JT Realmuto deal, has been really, really good. I mean, they're just so deep. Obviously, Sandy Alcantara. I mean, they're just so loaded pitching wise, and that's what makes them so dangerous, right? When we talk about if they get in, and you have to face a team that has that kind of pitching in what's now a wild card series with no off days. I mean, that's a dangerous situation right there.
Do you like the move with the postseason format? I mean, I don't really understand why you don't have any off days. I don't understand how that maybe helps with a COVID case to keep everything in line. But anyway, do you like the new format?
I don't. I mean, obviously it's a byproduct of not having to travel, right? I mean, if you have no travel days, you don't need off days. One thing I just perplexes me is that apparently the teams didn't know.
Oh.
They knew that baseball was shooting for a final day for the season to be over with. But the fact that you didn't tell them before the trade deadline, I mean, how many teams would have at least made one more move, just another depth move for their rotation if they would have known they were going to have to do this, or they weren't going to be able to load and get their game one starter to flip around on short rest and get that next start. I mean, I think it would have completely changed the complexity of the trade deadline, and I think a lot of GMs and a lot of owners should be really upset about that side of it.
Well, I knew that they hadn't settled the entire playoff format yet until just recently. But wasn't that still part of the bargaining that went on right before the season, understanding that they had to still figure this out? And if that's the case, how come players and teams didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really have the answer to that. I mean, it just seems, I think we felt from the beginning, and I understand when you're trying to do this in the climate that you're trying to do it in, and a lot of stuff's just these decisions are going to be made on the fly. But when you have a hardline trade deadline, and you have the ability, we were talking about a bubble before the deadline.
Yeah.
So this wasn't as though we were stunned that all of a sudden baseball comes out this week and says, you know what, we're going to be in California and we're going to be in Texas, and that's where all these games are going to be played. We knew. I mean, I was having conversations with front office people talking about what they felt about the bubble before the deadline. So it was on the top of everyone's mind. It's just no one put 2 and 2 together. I mean, obviously that's on the commissioner's office for not properly communicating, but it's just as bad as it gets when you think about what the deadline could have been for so many teams.
Corey McCartney joining us in Atlanta. It's 12:49 on a Thursday afternoon. We're live at Stokes Volkswagen. Come see us on Ashley Phosphate Road and pick up a free round of golf to go to play out at Stone Oak Ferry, or a family 4-pack of tickets to go to Patriots Point. Give blood as well. They give you $20 to give blood here today at the blood drive at out on Ashley Phosphate Road at Stokes Volkswagen. Corey, let me change gears and slide into some football here. Obviously, a major announcement yesterday out of the Big Ten that they will be returning to football. There are stringent processes in place to be able to do this safely, but nonetheless, they're back. Was it surprising to you that it was a unanimous vote and all 14 programs in the Big Ten will be playing football?
I mean, I don't think I'm surprised by it. I think it only amped up their desire to go play, watching the rest of the country play. I think if we would have seen another Power 5 conference outside of them in the Pac-12 make a stand like they did, and had not had played the last couple of weeks, maybe we would have seen maybe a delay there. But I think the fact that they put stock in what they put stock in, and then they watch other conferences still be able to pull it off. So I think that was the biggest thing, was just fear of missing out. It's perplexing that it took so long for them to decide this, but obviously a huge thing for all these players and these coaches and these fans to be able to know now they've got a Big Ten schedule starting October 24th.
Well, I tell you what was interesting last night, the article or the column in Sports Business Journal that the league first consulted with Fox and ESPN before they even made the decision, which apparently they did not do before they made the decision back in August to postpone the season. I mean, I'm not going to go. I'm just happy that football's back, and I think all fans are at this point in time. But, if there wasn't, which there would be, but if there wasn't a time slot for some of these games, if ESPN said, look, we're not going to be able to clear X number of ball games, do you think that would have played any factor in this decision?
Potentially. I think sometimes we dispute how much that factors into it. I mean, I worked for a TV station for a long time, and that's what makes the world go round. I mean, they're the ones that are paying out those checks. Obviously, if you're not making a bowl, you're getting a revenue share, but you're getting an even bigger one when it comes to television contracts. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have delayed it just a little bit more to make sure that they were all going to be able to get as many games on the air as possible. I mean, certainly they all have the built-in with the Big Ten network, but knowing where things stand with ABC, with ESPN, with Fox, I mean, these are all major factors for that conference. And now we'll wait and see what happens with the Pac-12. Apparently they've been given clearance from Governor Newsom that they would be able to take the field. So we'll see what happens if they're able to follow suit, because the Rose Bowl is going to happen, and it would be awfully weird if only one side of this equation is willing to play.
What's strange, Corey? The fact that when the Big Ten made the decision that they made to cancel, they thought they would be in the lead, in the forefront, everybody would follow them. And now what's happening is when they have elected to return to play, now they're the ones leading the whole group that hadn't decided to play to get back on the field. There's a report now that the MAC is pushing to get back into play.
Yes.
And
Tuesday night football.
Yeah, get that thing started in October, the championship game at Ford Field. We know the Pac-12. We know the Mountain West is trying to get that 8-game schedule going as well. I mean, the irony of all of this right now is just striking to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a product of a MAC school, and those games mean everything for those teams to be able to get that revenue that you would get, and the hope that maybe you can squeeze in, just like we've seen with the Big 12, where you get that additional game out of conference. I mean, a lot of these MAC teams obviously had these games set up. Maybe they're hoping that they can get in the mix and maybe get one of those games back on the schedule. But I think the Big Ten, they more than anything, I think they just misread the room. I think they wanted to be at the forefront of the decision. And they made a miscalculation, and the thresholds obviously for them are going to be really tough. In terms of what the stop rate is at 5%. So what you're talking about, 5% of between 2 and 5% of the team's population for positive tests. I mean, you're talking about a very low rate for them to pull the plug. So it's like, well, they're back. I mean, more so than the other conferences. I mean, this thing could get dicey in a hurry. So we'll see. I mean, Penn State, you've seen a huge rash of cases at Penn State, but at least they're back, and we know now that there's a date, and we'll see how this whole thing fits into the equation with the college football playoff and so many other things to do with this season.
Yeah, they're going to have to work through it like these conferences who have been playing, have been working through. There's going to be bumps in the road. We know that. Hopefully they expect that. I think what's interesting here, and this is the final question on this, and I want to ask you about your column on the Oklahoma quarterbacks before we let you run. I think what's interesting about this is when the cancellations began happening over a month ago, it was safety first, safety first, safety first. We don't have enough information, whatever it is, whatever involved around the medical side, that's one side. The other side was, well, these schools like in the MAC, they can't afford all this testing. Well, now wait a second. How are they going to be able to afford all of this testing now? Even if it's in mass and it's available, for daily antigen testing where they can just swab your cheeks and things like that. That's great. That's wonderful. But if they couldn't afford it before, how can they afford this now?
Good question. I think it all boils down to what risks are you willing to take to potentially have those paydays that keep programs afloat? We already saw a number of schools cancel other sports, knowing that they weren't going to have football to bring in revenue for them. So, maybe you're willing to take on some debt, knowing what's on the flip side there in terms of the revenue that could be coming in for football, and you're a lot more willing to take it on if you know that football is going to be there to drive that revenue in. So, I think that's. I would imagine that plays a lot into it. Just knowing that you're willing to take that risk for potentially what's to come.
Yeah. All right, you've got a column up at fansided.com. Really good piece here. Big 12 had a tough weekend last weekend. But this column was about Spencer Rattler and Oklahoma quarterbacks in particular. Essentially, our Heisman voters, is there Oklahoma fatigue? The last 3 years, you've had 3 transfers. 2 of them have won Heisman trophies. Jalen Hurts certainly was in the mix. This kid could very well be in the mix. Is there Oklahoma fatigue? I ask you that as a Heisman voter, but I also ask you, is there enough competition in the Big 12 here in 2020 to even be able to produce a Heisman winner from a place like Oklahoma, or has some of that been diminished based on some of the results we saw in Week 1?
Well, certainly Iowa State and Kansas State aren't helping matters, but look, you still got Texas with Sam Ehlinger. You still got Hubbard at Oklahoma State, and then of course you've got Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, and you're going to be having Rattler's going to be facing off against those other two. I wondered though about that fatigue factor, because we've seen so many times in voting, where people get tired of a particular player, and we saw it with Tebow. The year after he wins in 07 and 08, he gets more first-place votes than anybody and ends up finishing in third place. Think back to David Klingler, follows up Andre Ware at Houston, puts up even bigger numbers, and he can't even sniff first place, finishing in fifth. And then when Tua Tagovailoa finishes second to Murray in 2018, you had even Tim Tebow himself wondering whether or not people had grown tired of Alabama. And so far, Oklahoma has been fatigue-proof. We've seen 4 straight years with 5 finalists, if you want to include D.D. Westbrook, the wide receiver, in there. But now you've got Rattler stepping in. We know he's going to put up big numbers. It's the same system. There for a while, it felt like, whether it was in the Big 12 with Art Briles players or, Texas Tech with Leach, system QB was a dirty word, right? And anytime a system started to be what you reasoned for a player's production, you kind of started to question the player. What are we going to do that with Rattler? Because he's going to put up the numbers. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see what, I don't know how I'm going to handle it right now, but certainly a lot of voters, whether they get tired of the same player, the same team, the same position, the same numbers being a major factor in this race.
Trevor Lawrence could be a factor in this race too. I think we all know that, though. We'll leave it there with Corey McCartney joining us from what's been rainy Atlanta, Georgia. Not hot Atlanta, Rainlanta. Corey, go Braves. Hope they have a good weekend, and hopefully they're able to get this thing clinched in the next week or so and move on to the playoffs. Really good stuff and insight as always. It's baseball, golf, football, you name it. It's out there again, and so have a wonderful sports weekend, and thank you for everything you do for us.
All right, thanks, guys.
There you go, Corey McCartney on Twitter at Corey J. McCartney. 12:58 on a Thursday afternoon. It's time for a timeout. We're live at Stokes Volkswagen. Check them out, stokesvw.com. Come see us. We'll give you a free round of golf to Stono Ferry or a family 4-pack of tickets to Patriots Point, or you might be lucky enough and get both.
And if you want to get a car, there's some unbelievable deals. New Jetta. The Jetta it's a sharp-looking car. $249 down, $249 a month, 72 months, 0 interest. Similar deal for the new Atlas with the third row. $399 a month, 72 months, no interest. Tiguan, $299 a month, 72 months, No interest.
You're stealing on the lot here at Stokes Volkswagen. StokesVW.com to check out those rides and more. Give blood. They give you $20 to do it. The truck's right behind us. Come see us. We'd like to meet you here at Stokes Volkswagen. Time for a timeout. When we return, into the Gamecocks we go. Eric Kimry joining us from Columbia, South Carolina, next on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks. Not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 103, welcome back. Hour 2, final hour of the JV and Goldwater Show. As my good buddy Patrick Davis just said, live, loud, and online. And we are on the road today at Stokes Volkswagen, Ashley Phosphate Road in North Charleston. You can come grab yourself a free round of golf at Stono Ferry, a family 4-pack of tickets to Patriots Point. Give blood, they give you $20. And while you're doing all that, you could drive the new car out to Stono and throw your clubs in the back like the 2020 Atlas Cross Sport here at Stokes Volkswagen. It's a beautiful ride with the third row and 0% APR for 72 months at Stokes Volkswagen. Check them out at stokesvw.com. Check us out at jbandgoldwatershow.com for free everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, the Podbean app as well. But up next, it's an inaugural appearance for a former Gamecock quarterback, but I'm not going to allow him to speak just yet. He'll have to listen.
He's on mute anyway, so he can't speak at the moment if he wanted to.
Okay, good. In about 6 days, 20 years ago, something very special happened to this man as the quarterback at Carolina, and this is what it sounded like.
I think they've got to protect their quarterback, Phil Petty. They've got to do it and do it well. Keep Mississippi State out of there.
South Carolina will kick off the football. Mississippi State will receive the football.
Battle of the unbeatens.
Watson has stripped. It's loose. It is picked up and headed towards the end zone. And headed is Dorsett Davis in for a touchdown. Wide open receiver at the 30. He breaks a tackle to the 10, into the end zone. That's Corey Alexander with the touchdown. And that's Miller in a good hole, and he dashes to the end zone for a touchdown. His kick is up, and his kick is good. This ball game is safely a 6-point ball game with 8:08 remaining. And Petty is down and shaken up as Bulldogs really came after him. Eric Kimry, who is a 6'1", 200-pound sophomore, looks as if he will replace him. So Kimry thrust into a position where South Carolina, with 4:47 remaining in the football game, face a 4th down and 10 at the Bulldog 25.
This would be quite some story.
He's 4 of 8 with 1 interception so far this year.
And he's not had a pass. Look at this, 4th down. He's not had a snap. Here comes that pressure. Lofts it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
A special day indeed it was. September the 23rd, 2000. Eric Kimry, the fade. We all remember it. And now we'll let him speak on the JB and Goldwater show, joining us live from Columbia, South Carolina. Hey, buddy.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
How can you believe this has been 20 years ago almost that happened? 20. I don't want to age you, but almost 20 years, man.
I know. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's gone by that fast. You know, it feels like yesterday, and it's certainly a warm memory that, you know, I'll always have and my family will always have. And it's a warm memory for every Gamecock that can remember that far back. But, man, it's kind of surreal. It's been 20 years.
That's one of the things. I mean, my family has sat in the same seats forever. And I remember everything about that moment. I remember everything about the first 4 games of that season. And then when that happened, it was just, I almost hit my head. We sat on row 30 in the south end zone. We were right underneath the zone. And I remember I was just a little guy. But I jumped so high, I almost hit my head. Certainly almost hit the guy behind me. But Eric, thank you so much for joining us. This guy's got if you for some reason don't know who Eric Kimry is, you're not from around here, so welcome to town. But he's got a laundry list of credentials. Former quarterback at Carolina, head football coach at Hammond. He's also the host of the Fade In podcast, which is just fantastic. And I could keep on going. And he's been kind enough to spend a few minutes with us today on the 2020 Gamecock football team, some of his guys as well, and much, much more, Eric. So, but we'll start with the Gamecocks, man. You know, here we are. We're a little bit over a week from kickoff. They've had extra time to prepare. I think this is Will Muschamp's best team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that we have the most depth on defense we've had under Will Muschamp. I do think we have some question marks on offense, and particularly who are going to be those playmakers. Who's going to be the quarterback? It's still up in the air. And so, and we've got the toughest schedule we've had with the 10 SEC games. So I'm certainly looking for improvement from last year. I want to see this team competitive for 4 quarters. We had 5 games last year that we lost by a total of 17 points. And a lot of that was due to momentum. So I really hope that we can get some early momentum. This Tennessee game, I think it's critical. And then hopefully we can win one we're not supposed to early on and see. But I am really optimistic about the roster, about the depth of talent that Coach Muschamp is building, and about the overall trajectory of the program.
You know quarterbacks quite well. You played it. You've had a bunch of them at Hammond, and then you look at this duo that's been competing for the starting job. I know that Coach has not officially announced a starter, Eric, but I think we all understand kind of maybe what's going on here.
I believe it's been announced.
Have they now officially announced it?
The Gamecocks announced Colin Hill will be the starting quarterback.
So I've kind of not trying to speak over anybody here, Eric, and I'm sure you've heard similar things. For about a week or so now, I've kind of heard that it was Colin Hill, that he was going to be the guy. What have you heard about Colin Hill as he's transferred in from Colorado State? Of course, he's been in the Mike Bobo system for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think you got to remember first Colin's from here in South Carolina. And he went out to Colorado State. That was Coach Muschamp's first year here. They wanted to get him, but I think, Coach Bobo already kind of had his heels in with Colin, and I've seen him, I've been to practice or two and watched him throw. He's got really, really good mechanics, and the ball comes out of his hand in a way that you can't teach. You just have to see it. He's unfortunate he's had 3 ACL surgeries and tears and injuries, and so hopefully he can stay healthy. But in terms of mechanics and his footwork and his release and what the ball looks like coming out of his hand, there's something to get excited about. Now, that's just one part of playing quarterback. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know who you're throwing it to. You got to know who your hots are, who your reads are, how to spot protections, how to read coverages, how to be a leader. I mean, there's just a lot there. And those are the intangible qualities that I can't speak intelligently to. But I can say that if you were going to have an advantage over a guy you're competing with in a quarterback job, having knowledge of the system, it would be probably the number one. And we talked about that on our podcast with Anthony Wright, and he mentioned that as well, is to have knowledge of that system. And Colin's got 3 years under Mike Bobo's system. So, listen, Ryan Helinski is a good football player, a good quarterback, 4-star guy. To have somebody come in and beat him out, to me, is a good thing.
I agree with you. I think that's very well said there. And I'm glad you mentioned Anthony Wright, and we're going to talk about the Fade In podcast here in just a minute. But Todd Ellis, just a couple of weeks ago on the call-in show with Will, said that Colin Hill's arm reminded him of Anthony Wright, which obviously he was just prior to you at South Carolina. So, it's been 23, 24 years that there's been a guy with that big of an arm. Would you agree with that comparison?
Well, I told Anthony that myself, and I think I was probably standing next to Tom when we were watching him throw and mentioned that. And so in terms of velocity, the guys can really put some pop on the ball. And again, when the ball comes out of your hand, when it has that kind of just tight spiral to it, it penetrates the wind better. It has a better trajectory, and therefore you have more control over the ball. And so, he has that. That's something that you can develop a little bit in a guy, but usually that's kind of just God-given talent. And so when you're looking at a quarterback, the first thing you want is some arm talent, and Colin Hill definitely has it.
I have a feeling, though, that we've never seen a 10-game SEC schedule, Eric. You know what it's like to play in an 8-game SEC schedule. It's incredibly difficult. Although Colin Hill has been named the starting quarterback at Tennessee, this quarterback battle is not over, and don't forget about Luke Doty either.
No, and I've seen Doty play some receiver. He actually brings something to the table there. If you look at Doty, his legs look like NFL safety's legs. He's got these big old thighs. He's just a well put together dude, and by all accounts, is just a wonderful human being, a leader, and the fact that he's like, hey, wherever I can help the team, let me go do it, is a good thing, and he will bring something to the table as a quarterback in the future. But I think the hardest position to come in and play, at least from a mental standpoint, immediately as a quarterback. So let's hope that he can help us out in the perimeter. And if they use him in some packages here and there, great. But, give him some time to develop as a quarterback.
That voice is Eric Kimry. He is the head football coach at Hammond up in Columbia. And, of course, he's the former quarterback of the Gamecocks. But what surrounds him is important as well. And from what we understand, Kimry, they've got 8 or 9 guys up front, which is always very good in this league. You need to be there. We know that. We know they lost Marshawn Lloyd, but they should feel good about the guys they've got back there as well. And they've been trying to figure out at wide receiver, but from what we understand, the talent is there. It's just trying to find those top 3 or 4 guys. But for your take on those that surround Colin Hill as they open the season at 7:30 next Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm excited about the offensive line for sure. I think when your O-line coach is complaining about the third-string guys, that means he feels good about his first and second-string guys. that's what Wolford's kind of been doing. and so I feel good there. I feel solid about our tight end situation. Who's going to be the game breaker? That to me is the question mark. Who's going to be able to make that guy and those two guys miss and take a 10-yard run to the house, or a hitch and break one tackle and take it to the house? I think that's the question mark. We know like Shi Smith's got speed. I'm not sure he's a down the field, out jump you big man kind of guy, but he's a guy that can run by you for sure. And who's going to complement him out wide? Then those are the questions we don't have answers to yet. So that'll be one of the things I'm most interested in watching here next week against Tennessee.
We're talking with Eric Kimmery, who obviously used to play quarterback for South Carolina, is also currently the head coach at Hammond, and the record, Coach, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's quite impressive. We saw you a couple of weeks ago down at Porter Gaud, and C.J. Stokes is a guy who's hard to miss. He just picked up an offer from Minnesota. What is the best thing that C.J. Stokes does, and how high is his ceiling?
Oh, man. And he's also been offered by South Carolina, by the way. He ran there as a sophomore, right? I think he ran 2 4.46s or something like that. Went down to an ESPN underclassmen camp and ran a 4.4 flat laser at 40. So, I mean, the speed is the one thing that comes it jumps right out at you. Well, with CJ, the first thing is that he wants it. He's a guy you got to kick out of the weight room. You got to tell him it's too much. He's a wonderful, respectful young man. He's extremely intelligent, very intelligent. And he wants to be a great running back, and he certainly has the skill set to do that. He's up to 190 pounds now. I think he did 225 like 15 times the other day. I mean, he's got it all. He really does. So he's got a huge ceiling. I honestly think that he would have just a slew of offers if it weren't for COVID.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, he couldn't go out and camp, and he couldn't go. And I know like Florida State wanted him to come down and all his teams. So I think that his list of offers will only increase as people get to see him a little bit more. But he's a guy that's got a bright future for sure.
I mean, and that's a great comment, because that comment correlates with what our buddies say around here all the time. Darren West Mitchell and J.C. Sherbert and these guys. There's a lot of folks that want to complain about recruiting rankings and this, that, and the other. This has been a really awkward summer. I mean, you can't get guys out to get seen and things like that. C.J. Stokes is one. Look, on Twitter a couple weeks ago, because I watched y'all play who was it? Porter Gaud.
Yeah.
Darren was calling the game, as a matter of fact. There you go, Darren. Nice job. I was watching you on TV, Eric, and on Twitter I said, look, I think this kid's going to be the best running back prospect to come out of South Carolina since Marcus Lattimore. And some folks didn't like my comment, pump the brakes and this, that, and the other. I'm not going to ask you to compare anyway to Marcus Lattimore, but when you say the ceiling is high, you mean that. I mean, this guy is a major D1 prospect.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even close. I mean, he's a Power 5 guy. He's already proven that. And, listen, he's 16 years old, so we're still figuring things out. Still learning how to run over the pads a little bit more. But he's getting more and more comfortable with having a football body, carrying 190 pounds and carrying it well. The thing that he has is just, kind of makes you do a double take is how explosive he is off of a set. It's like he can jump cut and all of a sudden, pow, he's gone, and so, listen, I'm a real good coach when I hand the ball to C.J. Stokes.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you looked really, really good that night.
You got a bunch of guys over there. You've had a bunch of guys too. We talked to Will a couple weeks ago. Will's very high on Boogie. He's very high on Jordan. They obviously still have much to learn, but as they enter their freshman season, Coach Muschamp continues to say, and I know you've talked to Will, they need all hands on deck. Everybody's going to need that this year to have a successful football season with COVID around. Your thoughts on the impact that those two tremendous freshmen could make this year at Carolina?
Well, I think they're both going to play regardless of whether you need, extra depth or not. I think both of them have cracked the 2 deep, and you're going to see them both a lot this year. And so, listen, those guys are extremely talented. Boogie Huntley, it was a little bit overshadowed in a way because of how much attention Jordan received. Boogie Huntley is a fantastic football player. I mean, 6'4". I think he's 295 right now, and he looks really, really good. He understands the game at a deep level, how to use his hands. He wants to learn the craft of playing defensive line, and he's highly intelligent. You're talking about a kid that was a student body president at Hammond School. So, his ceiling's amazing. Of course, Jordan Birch to me is a future Sunday guy.
Yeah.
Probably never coach a guy that talented again. He's 6'6", 270, 275. You can move him around anywhere. Another really intelligent young man. Played point guard for us at Hammond School. At 6'6", 270. So good luck with that. And he's just got amazing. He's got amazing hands. Could probably play tight end in the NFL if he wanted to. But I think he'll make a lot more money rushing the passer one day. So Jordan's going to help South Carolina. He's going to help him this year.
Yeah, he is. He's going to help big time. All right, I know we're short on time with you, Eric, but one of the best things that I could suggest anybody listen to, and you don't have to be a South Carolina fan, although it might be beneficial to understand some of what they bring up, is the Fade In podcast. This is, what is this, year 3, right, of you doing this?
Yeah. Season 3, we just cranked out last Sunday.
And it's you do it live from the River Rat Brewery. And I know last week Preston Thorne and Anthony Wright and Ryan Brewer, who I've known a long time as well, another amazing human being. Those guys joined you, and I haven't had a chance to listen to the entire conversation. I plan on doing that today, actually, when I leave here on the way home. I got a little drive. But for folks who want to find it, tell them how to find it when you conduct each of these shows, and what the future guests look like, what you talk about, things like that.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, and I have it pinned to my address. But just Google Fade In with Eric Kimley, and you'll find it on whatever platform you want to listen to. But the vision was just, hey, let's sit around with a group of guys that kind of know what they're talking about, whether it be former players, sometimes former coaches, distinguished media, and we'll sit down, around a table and just kind of talk ball around the Gamecocks and then things. And sometimes like life lessons come up or past stories come up. But the vision is for you to feel like you're sitting at the table next to us, and that's what we try to do. We're recording live at River Rat, probably going to go on 5:30s on Sundays. 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, so we record live there. We pump it out if you want to come out and listen live. It's fun, and then I usually drop them probably on Tuesday. But I'm looking forward to another season of doing it. We'll mix up the guests as the year goes on, and hopefully we have some good things to talk about.
You do, and if I'm ever in Columbia at 5:30, you can invite me. I can bring Michael Flynn if that will get me in the door.
That would certainly help you for sure.
That might actually get me kicked out. I've been kicked out of places with Michael Flint before.
Yeah, you got to watch out with Michael. So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll have to do this again soon sometime.
Look, I know you got to run. Before 1 minute here, I want to ask you about this real quick. Your former head football coach, Lou Holtz, he is receiving the Medal of Freedom from President Trump. What does that mean to you as a former player of his?
Well, it means you played for a legend, a guy that's thought of, he's thought of so well that to get an honor like this which is I think the highest honor you can get as a civilian, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from Coach Holtz, and I'm thankful I got to play for a guy like him. And we have our wonderful stories that we can tell about him the rest of our lives. Some of them great, some of them not so great. But at the end of the day, I'm grateful I played for him, so I congratulate him on that honor.
Eric, we can't thank you enough for your time. We will invite you back if you would be so kind to accept our invitation at some point in time. We'll get the season kicked off and see what everything looks like. But the best of luck to you and the Skyhawks moving forward as well. What an amazing program you've got at Hammond. We look forward to following along, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Take care.
You got it. There you go. The former quarterback in South Carolina, Eric Kimry. And it is 1:23 on a Thursday afternoon. And, here's the thing. I had actually sent Steve Fink an email this morning saying, hey, drop that news right at 1 when I've got Kimry on the air so we can discuss with a guy who might know that position just a tad.
Just a little bit.
But really good stuff with Eric there, and I would suggest you listening to his podcast, Fade In, is really good. And it's really good. I'll just leave it at that. There's no more that needs to be said. What else does need to be said, though, is comments, and I guess I'll give you my thoughts on now what has been decided. That is Colin Hill as the starting quarterback at South Carolina. We do have Scott Glaze coming up in about 10 minutes, so we will get much more into the U.S. Open with him. Look, I don't want to say I told you so.
No, but you've been on.
But I've known this.
You're right. You've been on this for a while. I mean, even it's looked like this is how it's been going for a little while. But again, I mean, few people are as tied in to the program as you are. So what separated? What was the difference in Hill beating out Helinski. How close were they?
Well, it was close, but Eric just hit the nail on the head. Eric Kimmery hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly where this was kind of going. You can't replace the experience in a new offensive system. It is very rare to see an offensive coordinator go somewhere else. He used to be a head coach, but move on to a different program and his quarterback come with him. Colin Hill obviously had injuries at Colorado State, so you're going to have to keep an eye on that moving forward to make sure that he's healthy. He is. He's had 3 ACLs. That's tough. But, even though Ryan was the incumbent, and Ryan's a talented kid, and he's going to play, and so is Luke Doty, I felt more comfortable with starting Colin Hill because he does know the ins and outs of that offense. This is a multiple set offense. You know what that means. Some don't. But what that means is there's going to be a lot of changing personnel. You might see something on one play, and the next play you're going to have a whole different group of guys out there doing something entirely different. And, it's beneficial to have a quarterback that really understands it. Now, that being said, Ryan Helinski does understand this offense. The fact that he made this close of a competition says a lot about Ryan Helinski. He had to get in and get dirty into the playbook and try to figure things out, make all the throws, perform. And he did that for the most part, but Colin Hill obviously did it a little bit better, and I think understands it a little bit better according to Coach Muschamp, and that's why he'll get the nod against Tennessee. And this is what Coach has said, quote, Colin Hill will start the game against Tennessee. I thought both guys had outstanding training camps. We can win with both guys, bottom line. Ryan's had a really good camp. Obviously, there's an advantage for Colin playing for Coach Bobo before. Schematically, there are some things that helped him, but we can win with both guys. We've got confidence in both guys, and as I told them and our entire football team, we're going into the unknown. We've got to have all hands on deck and ready to play. Luke Doty has gotten some more reps at the quarterback position because what if we lose Colin and Ryan to a COVID situation? We've got to have a bunch of guys ready to play in the game, but Colin will start for us. It was a very difficult decision. You look at our 3 scrimmages, which are the 3 benchmarks really in the evaluation. Ryan was the player of the day in the first one, Colin in the second, both played extremely well in the third, and it was very difficult, a hard decision, but that's the decision we made. As I've said before, we can win with both guys, and we have great confidence in both guys, and both guys know that as well. That is Will Muschamp's comments on the quarterback position. The situation at running back, though, has not been resolved. They do not necessarily have a starter, although they continue to say that Kevin Harris has been the most consistent back. And Zaquandre White is back healthy. Deshaun Fenwick has looked really good. So they have 3 guys they'll choose from. I got a feeling it'll probably be Kevin Harris from what I've heard. But nonetheless, the quarterback battle is resolved at South Carolina, at least for the first game, Darren. And I'm going to stick to my guns and what I've been saying, and the folks that I've been talking to who are right in it up there, either one of these guys, whoever started, it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. Don't look at the name. They have a starting quarterback, and don't look don't look past that. Don't look and think, okay, well, this kid was at Colorado State. Why all of a sudden is he a starter in the SEC? Don't look at that. Don't think that Ryan lost it just because he started 11 games last year as a freshman. This was a true battle. Somebody won this battle. This was not decided early in camp. This was not given away. This was not lost. This was won, a truly won quarterback battle. That's the most you could ask for.
And it bodes well for Carolina. Look, who knows what's going to happen this year, right? I mean, Will Muschamp has been all over that. Everyone around college football has been all over that. We have no idea what this year is going to look like as you work your way through. You need depth at every position right here. The fact that the competition was as close as it is means that Helinski is that close to Hill. They could have gone the other way. That's what it means. The fact that the competition lasted as long as it did means that it could have gone either way. Yeah. So if something happens to Hill, be it injury or COVID or contact tracing, who knows? You got another guy who is capable there, who's got a year under his belt when he was really just thrown into the fire last year anyway, and then now this offseason with Hill and Mike Bobo. So you would expect Helinski, if his number is called, when his number is called, you'd expect him to be ready and to have taken a step forward from last year.
Absolutely. And everything that I seem to know about Ryan Helinski is that this decision has not negatively impacted Ryan Helinski or anything like that. He understands exactly what's happened here. He's understood the nature of the situation. He has embraced this situation. And again, the quarterback battle is not over. Tennessee is the first of 10 football games in the SEC. Things have a chance to change. Do I think they'll change? I don't think there's anybody in their right mind who could possibly answer that question honestly, because the hope is that Ryan Helinski Colin Hill runs out there.
Nice little Freudian slip there for you.
Yeah, next Saturday night and just has a hell of a day against the Vols. That's the hope. And if he goes out and plays extremely well, then guess what? Colin Hill's going to go to Gainesville, Florida as the starting quarterback. Could you see Ryan in game one? I would say that you probably could. But are you going to pull a guy out who's playing really well? No. Right. No. This isn't Coastal. This isn't East Carolina. This is Tennessee. This is the barometer game. This is not a must-win game, if that makes sense. I mean, if you want to measure yourselves quickly with the rest of the league, if you want to have a turnaround type year under Will Muschamp in year 5, I hate saying it's must win because it's not, but it kind of is. If you can't beat Tennessee at home, who then are you expected to beat, and what upsets are you expected to pull if you can't pull that one?
And it's important. Look, Eric Kimry just said it. We've been saying it before. It's important for South Carolina to get some early momentum. I like the fact that it is Tennessee because it does feel like it's a upset potential game.
Yeah.
And if you do that, if you get the momentum, then all of a sudden you go to Florida and you feel a whole lot better about yourselves when you go down to Florida, and that could make all the difference in the world.
There's no question. Look, I've continued to say this. This is not garnet glasses, and I'm not blowing smoke. South Carolina definitely has an opportunity to start the year 2-0, okay, which would be an unbelievable start, and it would be the most surprising start in the SEC. Now, there's a lot of things that have to go their way for that to happen. There's no question about that. But they're not opening the season on the road in Baton Rouge. They don't have Alabama coming in game 1 or game 2. This is not on the road at Texas A&M, a place that they haven't won. These are 2 programs. Tennessee has won all of one game in 12 years in Williams-Brice Stadium. Once. That's it. Okay? So good mojo is there inside of the ballpark when the Vols come to town. In addition to that, the last 2 years, South Carolina had the lead against Florida. 2 years ago in the Swamp, they were up 17 points and blew the lead. Is Florida a better team than 2 years ago or even last year? Probably. But so is Carolina. So they have a chance. But they don't have a chance unless their quarterback plays really well. And so now that he's been named the starting quarterback, the expectation is that he goes out and plays extremely well and maintains that job. If there's a chance to get Ryan in there, then there's a chance. If there's a chance to play Luke Doty and throw another wrench into this, then that's fine. But Colin right now is going to be the guy, and he's won the battle, and they'll move on to next Saturday.
Getting a couple of comments here, one on Podbean, one on Twitter, both of them centering around the same thing. Is there a chance this leads to a Helinski transfer?
Not that I've heard. No, not that I've heard. Look, the whole family moved across the country to live on Lake Murray.
Mm-hmm.
They have transplanted themselves to the Midlands of South Carolina, and they're very comfortable there. And, could it happen? It can always happen. Quarterbacks transfer all the time now. But I have not heard that.
Yep.
This quote here, such political BS. They wanted Hill to win, and so goes it. Muschamp's QB and OC positions are like a revolving door. Zero consistency on that side of the ball. Continue to keep us 500 level at best. Helinski will probably lose. None of that. It is not political. I can 100% guarantee you it is not political. So if you're listening, listen to what I'm telling you right now. This was not a political move by Will Muschamp to start Colin Hill. I promise you that.
Look, Will Muschamp is, well, it's fair to say his seat is at least warm.
Absolutely.
They're not picking a quarterback because, well, we knew we were going to take this guy anyway. They need to win games.
By the way, Mike Bobo was heavily involved in this decision, and he could have given a rat's ass whether it was the guy that came with him from Colorado State or Ryan Helinski or Joe Schmo that walked off a bluff road. He just wants the best guy for the job because everybody's job is on the line in college football, especially when you're trying to rebound off a 4-8 season. It's not political, and that is very unnecessary. It is time for a timeout. But Scott Glaze is necessary. He'll join us next. A rough finish for Tiger Woods. He'll tell you about it on the other side of the break here on the JB and Goldwater Show, live from Stokes Volkswagen when we return.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks. Not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, but whenever I want to keep up with the South Carolina Gamecocks or even the Clemson Tigers, I can still tune in to JB and Goldwater because they are always live, loud, and online.
And I sing hallelujah. I do believe it's happening.
All right, 136. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, online, on the road today. Stokes Volkswagen off of Ashley Phosphate Road. Still time to drop in and give blood. They give you $20 to do it, and we'll give you a round of golf to Stono Ferry or family 4-pack tickets to Patriots Point.
Yep, they need O negative, desperate need right now in the area and probably the region for O negative blood. They're going to be here for another couple of minutes, so swing by if you're in the area. That'd be great. If not, find another way to give blood. It's not just O negative, but everything that is necessary right now.
Absolutely. Always necessary to have a cheesesteak, too. It's Thursday. Buy one, get one half off foot-long cheesesteaks at DB's, the best cheesesteak place in Charleston. You voted it, number 1, Charleston's Choice, dbscheesesteaks.com. Don't forget the Boardwalk Fries. They are in Avondale in West Ashley, dbscheesesteaks.com. Again, buy one, get one, half off. Feed the family tonight at DB's Cheesesteaks. Not far from there, though, is the original Hollywood. That's Hollywood, South Carolina, the home of Stono Ferry and the home of Scott Glaze. He is the golf pro at Stono Ferry, and he's as pissed off as I am about the finish to Tiger Woods' opening round, so we'll bring him in and let him chew on it for a minute here. Hey, man.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I tell you, I'm in a foul mood right now. Not only did Tiger just trip and stumble and face plant through the finish there, but what's happened to the U.S. Open? We're supposed to have the U.S. Open, especially at a place where was once named the Massacre at Wingfoot, and the place is going to break out into just a normal PGA Tour Invitational. It looks like this golf course. Last time we had a U.S. Open at Wingfoot, +5 was the winning score. It was that was 2006, won by Jeff Ogilvy. Only 12 rounds that entire week. So from Thursday through Sunday, there were only 12 rounds that entire week under par. So far today, in the morning wave on Thursday, we have 7 under par. And it's, the USGA, they've gotten so much criticism in the past and kind of this modern day mentality. and they're letting this golf course play easy right now. I'm a little upset by it, so I'm hoping that they get it back to be the extremely difficult test that Winged Foot has always been known to be. In their 5 previous U.S. Opens, only one of them was won under par. That was 1984, 4 under by Fuzzy Zeller, but the other winning totals have been over par. So it's not off to a great start in terms of what we were going to expect at Winged Foot this week. Now it is playing easy. Probably the softest conditions we'll see all week, the easiest pins that we'll see all week. Excuse me, the USGA likes to say hole locations instead of pins. And yeah, so scores could come backwards. I still predict that they will. So it's a very, very interesting start and not one that I was expecting. Justin Thomas is in the lead at 5 under. That's the lowest round ever shot at a U.S. Open at Winged Foot. 66 was the previous best, and Justin Thomas broke that this morning.
In any round, that's the lowest one.
The lowest one ever. Now, the course record at Winged Foot is 63, but the competitive course record was 66 that Justin Thomas just broke.
Wow. Yeah, so 65 today for JT. And, the field will have to come backwards for Tiger, who, for a while, look, when he birdied those 3 in a row, I thought, okay, he's about to roar, but the roar turned into a whimper down the stretch with bogeys at 13 and 14. He did birdie 16, which was remarkable. And then he finished 3 over on the last 2 holes, 17, 18, double on 18. What happened on 18?
Rough. I actually did not get to see 18. I saw him on 17, though, and he flared one way to the right. I mean, he hit it off the world to the right in no man's land there, so you knew at least a bogey was coming. On 18, I did see that he had a tricky putt there for his bogey that he wasn't able to make. Let's see if I can do the play-by-play here with his 6.
You're
Looks
very
like
good at
he
this.
was short of the green, and I think he chunked it, left it short, and then put it up there and ended up making a double. So not good from Tiger. What I'm, going into this week, Tiger not the favorite, the odds-on favorite. He's getting older. This golf course was not good to him. The only other time that he played it, he missed his first cut as a professional in 2006 here in the U.S. Open. That was right after the death of his father, so that was weighing heavily on him. He doesn't have the warm and fuzzy feelings about this golf course. But going into this week and the prediction that this golf course was going to be really, really tough and that over par is going to win, I really felt confident that Tiger, he has the mentality to go win a U.S. Open, to just grind it out, to be there, to be steady, make a lot of pars, have a lot of great par saves. So that still could be the case. He's going to need a good round tomorrow to either stay put or improve his position in order to be there. One thing I am worried about, Tiger's putting looked fairly decent today. That's been a topic recently. However, when you're watching coverage this weekend, when these guys hit tee shots with the driver, due to the Doppler radar technology that we have in the game of golf now, we can trace these balls on the screen with the shot tracer. Now that's measuring all sorts of stuff. That's ball speed. It's measuring spin. It's measuring club path and the face to path and whatnot. It will give you an apex of how high the shot is, and it's often showing a ball speed number. Well, the ball speed number on a driver, the overwhelming majority of winners on the PGA Tour in this day and age exceed 170 miles per hour in their ball speed. What I noticed today is that Tiger could not hit that 170 number. He kept getting it 167, 68, 69. So what that says to me is that there's something a little bit off. He's not catching it like he normally is. So hopefully he can improve that. But that was something that I took note of watching his round this morning.
And it couldn't be that he's playing it just a little bit more cautious, just fairway to fairway, ideally, even though that exactly wasn't the case. But it's not that he's intentionally trying to take something off, but clearly if he's not at that 170 or above, he's not striking it pure.
Right. I'd take that based on his swing speed and how he swings the golf club, that he should be over that 170 number, even if he is maybe trying to take a little something off. He was playing in the same group as Justin Thomas. I found it interesting that JT came out, and his strategy today was to hit a lot of 3-woods, and he, as a result, hit a fair amount of fairways. One of the biggest knocks on JT is that, he can hit it a long way, but he can a lot of times not know where it's going. So I think his play was to make sure that the ball stays in the short grass. That's vital at a U.S. Open. And I would hope that Tiger can embrace that the rest of this week. Maybe take driver out of his hands, just get the ball in the fairway. It's going to be a lot easier to make the necessary pars and have looks at birdies, especially on these diabolical greens that we have at Wingfoot.
On Twitter at Scott Glaze, StoneandFerryGolf.com to book your tee times, find out much more about the course and a whole lot more out there on the banks of the Stono River. Dustin Johnson has just parred 1, so he just started his round here. Compare the morning round to the afternoon round at Wingfoot.
I believe the afternoon is going to be a little more difficult. We've seen this morning that the course is gettable today. It's a very mild day. We don't have a lot of difficult pins out there, and this is probably the softest that the golf course is going to play, just between the USGA drying it out over the course of the week, letting the greens get firmer and faster. The afternoon, you always have the chance that the wind will pick up a little bit. The greens start getting just a little bit beat up. You got to think you've got 150 guys that are walking all over these greens. So they start to become a little less true late in the afternoon, which could play a factor for some of these guys that are going off late in the afternoon. Normally in a U.S. Open, when the golf course is baked out and playing firm and fast, your afternoon rounds are much more difficult. Based on the way the golf course is playing today, I don't think there's going to be too much difference in stroke average from the morning wave than the afternoon wave, unless something changes in the weather. The afternoon guys, I think, are at a huge advantage, especially if tomorrow plays more difficult, because they can go out in more docile conditions today and put up a good number in the afternoon when a U.S. Open historically plays more difficult. And then they'll be able to turn right back around and play in the morning in softer conditions and probably calmer conditions, and be able to put 36 very good holes under their belts going into the weekend, which I expect to be much more difficult. So right now, I would like to be the afternoon draw. I usually always like to be the afternoon draw, but based on the way this is set up, I think it sets up really well for those guys.
What's the part of the course today in what you've seen that disappoints you the most? I mean, when I was watching, the greens are flying. I compared it to this table we have in front of us. I mean, tilt this table, roll the ball, and maybe the greens are faster than what this table actually
Stono?
is.
Where?
Well, no,
Stono?
not you at Stono. The
sorry.
U.S. Open. You make everything probably look like the U.S. Open.
Yes, I do.
But, I mean, the fact that the course is gettable, where is it gettable? Because the greens aren't necessarily gettable.
It's just a tad bit softer out there. Balls are staying in the fairway. They're not bounding into the rough. A couple of the tee shots that I did see that maybe were just a little bit offline that then ran into the rough are trickling into the rough, which then is not the very deep stuff. It's kind of that intermediate rough. If the golf course was playing really firm and someone takes it a little bit offline, the ball's then going to head into the rough with some heat. So then it's going to get maybe 5, 6, 10 feet into the rough, which the USGA likes to graduate this rough, have a gradual increase in height. So the further into the rough you are, the deeper the rough is and the more difficult the shot is. I saw a lot of guys today just on the edge of the rough. They were able to get fairway woods on the ball, long irons, and that's usually that's not what I like to see in the U.S. Open. I like to see if a ball goes into the rough, you have to hack it out. So I think that's where the course was vulnerable today, just because it was a little bit softer. They had some rain last week, but the conditions are looking good to where it will continue to get firmer. So those balls are a little bit offline, then go into very diabolical rough, and then it's hard to get the ball all the way to the green, and especially at a poor angle. And then speaking of the greens at Wingfoot, if Augusta National is, let's say, the Mona Lisa of green complexes and and putting surfaces, then Wingfoot might very well be a Starry Night, or they might be a Monet, a Rembrandt, or something like that. These green complexes have been studied by architects since the course was built. So it's great to see very undulating, very big greens. They're about double the size of Pebble Beach's greens that we saw in last year's U.S. Open. And you have to see a lot of creativity, and you need great touch and feel and precision in order to succeed on these greens.
5 under is JT, 4 under Patrick Reed, Rory at 3 under after a 67 today. That is 1, 2, 3 on the leaderboard. A host at 2 and 1 under as well. By the way, 1 under Phil Mickelson, who's had some history at Wingfoot. All right, are you picking anybody besides Dustin Johnson to win this week?
I actually am. Here's a stat on Rory, since you mentioned Rory.
Yes, that's where I'm going to.
Oh boy.
The last 4 times Rory has opened a major with a 67 or lower has been the 2012 PGA at Kiowa, which he won, the 2014 Open Championship, he won, and also the 2014 PGA Championship, which he won at Valhalla. He shot 67 today in this year's U.S. Open. Big knock on Rory recently is that he is not starting hot. He's finishing hot. Well, he started hot today. Look out for Rory. I think really the smart money is on DJ. DJ has either led or co-led after 8 U.S. Open rounds in his career. He does have a U.S. Open victory at Oakmont, should have won one about 10 years ago at Pebble Beach. But over the last 30 years, only Payne Stewart and Tiger Woods have led more often in the U.S. Open. But I was thinking I was going to pick DJ. I'm actually going to pick Xander Schauffele this week.
Oh, I thought you were going Rory.
Ooh.
This is his 4th career U.S. Open. In his previous 3 years at the U.S. Open, he's finished tied for 5th, tied for 6th, and tied for 3rd. In those 3 years, he has gained a total of 38 strokes against the field. He's ranked 1st in strokes gained putting, 1st in 1 putts per round, scored a par 2nd, strokes gained off the tee 3rd, and proximity to the hole 3rd. So he is built for a U.S. Open. He loves the grind, clearly. He embraces it. And the stat that really put it over the top for me to pick Xander Schauffele this week is that the last time he played at Eastlake, not only was he the lowest to par in the field before the adjusted strokes, he did not miss a single putt for 72 holes from 4 to 8 feet. You have to bury those putts in a U.S. Open, especially on greens like Wingfoot. And I think that that's going to set Xander apart this week, is being able to make those knee knockers when they matter most.
A little bit of a right turn there. Rory, by the way, 8th was his finish in East Lake at the Tour Championship. That was his first top 10 since March the 8th. And the Arnold Palmer, where he finished 5th at even par. We'll see how Rory finishes today. All right, if folks want to get on the course this weekend, of course, right, the storm's coming through and this, that, and the other, but it's going to be out of here later on tonight, and then tomorrow's going to set up a great weekend for golf at Stono Ferry. They can head to stonoferrygolf.com, stonoferrygolf.com, and I think, if my math serves me correctly here, my dear friend, that we are previewing number 14 this week?
No, we're on 13.
13.
Okay. Lucky number 13, and 13 is arguably my favorite hole here at Stono Ferry. It is named Battery Wilkes, which is actually named after a Confederate battery that was on these grounds dating back to 1863, and it was heavily coveted by the Confederate troops. It was never attacked. And was actually under the original command of Robert E. Lee before he was then kind of promoted through the Confederate Army. So very historical name for number 13 here. You tee off right along the banks of the Stono River. It is 340 yards from the back tee and 164 yards from the forward tee. So from our very forward tee, it's a very fun, short, drivable par 4, and there is not a forced carry over the river. However, if you're playing any of the back tees, you do have a forced carry over a little inlet of the Stono River there, as the hole slightly bends to the right and hugs the banks of the intercoastal there. In terms of template holes for all the golf course architecture nerds like myself, this would most resemble a cape hole of how it slowly bends and hugs the hazard there. There are some beautiful, majestic oak trees on the left side of the fairway, as well as on the right side, guarding the river there. There's a pesky pot bunker about 40 yards from the green, and the green is guarded by two bunkers on the left, and it's a very skinny but deep green. So because of the hole's length, it's not very long at 340. If you're able to get the ball in play and in the fairway, you're going to have a great look here at birdie if you can hit a nice wedge into the green. However, right on the banks of the Stono River, wind is going to play a huge factor in your tee shot as well as your second shot, so watch out for that. And because of that forced carry on the tee shot, if you sail one way to the right, big slice for the right-handed player, you're going to have to re-tee if that ball doesn't cross the water, just due to the rules of golf there. So it is a beautiful tee shot, but it's also an intimidating tee shot. If you get it in play, it's going to be rewarding for you. But make sure to take lots of pictures to soak it in as we are right in the heart at the 13th of this great revolutionary run, as I like to call it, with our history here. These great holes along the Stono River.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful set of holes right there. My suggestion to all of you that play them, drink more before you play them. You'll either play better or you won't care as much when all your balls are flying off into the Stono River. But on that note, we'll leave it there. StonoFerryGolf.com is where you can go to book tee times, find out course information like a flyover of the course. You can see every single hole. With the Stono Ferry Course Tour. It's really neat. Buy yourself a gift card. Check out memberships, real estate out at Stono Ferry. You name it, it's there. StonoFerryGolf.com. Follow Scott on Twitter as well, at Scott Glaze. He's a great friend of ours. He's a hell of a golf pro. He's a hell of a golfer, as a matter of fact. And I think he's going to have a wonderful weekend because the U.S. Open is playing alongside football, baseball, and that much more, the NBA playoffs. So we know Scotty, in addition to his duties as golf pro, will be glued to TVs anywhere he can find them. Hey, man, thank you so much, as always. What great stuff today. And we look forward to speaking with you next weekend when Tiger comes back and wins the U.S. Open.
Absolutely. And mix all that in with low 70s temperatures this weekend. I mean, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be an A-plus weekend.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Perfect weekend to tee off at Stono. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Scott Glaze at the original Hollywood, South Carolina. Holy City Drive-In movie series ongoing right now, Patriots Point, holycitydrivein.com. Coming up on Saturday night, The Blind Side, starring Sandra Bullock and Tim McGraw, the story of Michael Orr. You can back your truck right in, buy your tickets, and find out more show times at holycitydrivein.com, patriotspoint.org for more information to tour the museum like the Laffey, the Clamagore, the Vietnam War exhibit, and, of course, the USS Yorktown. A great weekend to go there as well. If you've got family in town, do it. Head over to Patriots Point on the banks of the Cooper at the foot of the Ravenel Bridge in Mount Pleasant. All right, I do have some parting shots to get to here, Darren. We didn't get to this at the top of the show. Charlotte, and North Carolina called off this weekend. Charlotte has not enough offensive linemen. They are in quarantine due to contact tracing. However, their game next weekend is not affected by this, but they've had to cancel the game. No makeup date. They do not have coinciding off weekends. Vanderbilt, a couple more transfers, including their starting safety. I'll just say that's...
Do they have anybody left?
That sucks. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. Sorry, Vanderbilt. And also the SEC is expected to adopt a 53 scholarship player minimum to be able to play ball games. 1 quarterback, 7 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, pending final approval. But that is expected.
That's exactly what the Big 12 is doing. It's the NFL 53-man roster type of idea.
Absolutely. And one final note, Jackson State looking for a football coach. Sources indicate their top target, is Deion Sanders.
He's been trying to get a job for the last couple of years.
At Barstool Sports.
Well, I mean a football job for the last couple of years. So before we get out of here, I know we got the day as well. We're at Stokes Volkswagen. Always a good time to check out Stokes Volkswagen. The new third row Atlas, $399 per month, 72 months, no interest. Let's see what else. We got the Tiguan for $299 a month for 72 months, and the Jetta for $249 a month, 72 months, no interest as well.
The blood drive is all but done. We appreciate all of you watching and listening to our show. And if you're in the market for a new ride, I'm telling you, what a great place. Wonderful, 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 kind people out here with great deals. And they can fit the whole family. They're shiny. They smell good. The whole 9 yards. You know, all those things that everybody looks for, right?
That's right. You're going to slide in our days calendar here? You got like 30 seconds to look that thing up.
Oh, no, I have it.
Oh, okay.
We just didn't get to it much. It is National Pawpaw Day, so tell your grandfather Happy National Pawpaw Day. And it is also National Constitution Day and National Citizenship Day.
Oh, well, Constitution and Citizenship Day. It's a good thing they're together.
That's right. There you go. That is on the handy-dandy National Days calendar.
There you go.
It's been busy. We've had fun at Stokes Volkswagen. Come see them. We're out of here, though, thanks to Tim Doyle from CBS Sports, Corey McCartney in Atlanta with the Atlanta Braves, Scott Glaze with Stono Ferry, and former Gamecock quarterback Eric Kimry. The decision has been made. It is Colin Hill. He'll get the nod at QB for Carolina next weekend. We'll talk much more about that tomorrow with Michael Flint. Until then, thanks to Darren Goldwater for all of his hard work.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for watching and listening. This has been the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by